Hello, friends. It's Nancy from Astrology and Angel Mediums today with another weekly check-in video for the week of, what's today? Sunday, March 2nd through March, it's going to be the 8th, I believe, Saturday, March 8th. So let's see. I don't even know if those are the right dates. I think those are the right dates. I'm a little tired. I've been working a little bit. So let's see what we have for the collective. I hope everyone's doing okay and taking care of themselves. So let's see what we have. Oh, we have two jumpers. So we're just going to put these off to the side. And we'll talk about those too. Because I don't think I'm going to pull some oracle cards today. But let's see. So what do we need to know as a collective for this week? So we have the Fool reversed. All right, what do we need to do as a collective for this week? We have the Knight of Pentacles. I feel like these cards have been following me around lately. All right, so what do we need to release as a collective? We have the Ten of Wands reversed. And then what do we need to contemplate as a collective? We have the Seven of Wands. So let's see what we have going on with these cards. As I said, I feel like some of these cards have been just following me around in my own personal readings lately. And it's kind of not been applicable for like what I've been looking for guidance on. So I don't know if maybe it's just kind of the energies for this month. Astrologically, March is going to be a little chaotic. It is going to be very challenging astrologically in very different ways. There's going to be a lot of different things that are shifting and changing. Neptune will be moving into Aries on the 30th, which we're still kind of a ways away, but we're at the last few degrees of Neptune being in Pisces, which is never comfortable whenever a planet is moving out of one sign and into the other. That 29 to 0 degree shift can just feel really intense. It can just really bring up a lot of different things, and a lot of the aspects that that planet may rule over may be really coming to a head. We may be feeling a lot of that kind of intensity really ramping up in different ways. So my guidance just overall for March will be take your time, take what you need for yourself. Really check in with how you're feeling, with what you have going on. Really try to do things that feel grounding and connected and supportive of you at this time. So let's get into this reading for this week. So we have the Fool reversed for what we need to know. Now, the Fool is typically a card that really can represent us kind of wanting to move into something new. Maybe we have this like leap of faith. We are trying to put all of our trust into the universe and kind of getting out there in some new ways. Now, with the Fool reverse is that maybe we feel like some things are not really taking off, or maybe there is some hesitation to kind of start something fresh, to start something new. I know for me personally, I've been trying to kind of get something to really come together and take off, and it just feels like there's been a lot of resistance. There's been a lot of things that have kind of gotten in the way. So there's been a lot of this, not to say just like back and forth, but kind of feeling a little bit like disconnect with what I would like to happen and what is actually happening. So I think with the Fool reverse, there is a little bit of this sense of, oh, I was wanting to kind of go out there and trust the universe, but maybe I'm seeing that maybe this is not the best time. Maybe I feel a little bit uncomfortable with the opportunity. Maybe we're feeling like it's challenging to want to say like, oh, I want to take a risk, or I want to kind of try something new. I have this one little hair that's like on my eyesight and it's driving me crazy. And so there is a little bit, I think, of this, not to say resistance, but maybe hesitation would be more of the word that I would use with the Fool reverse, is that there is a little bit of hesitation to kind of get out there and try something new. So I think with the Fool reversed here is that what we need to know is that maybe we may feel like things are not really taking off. Now, I've said this in some of my other videos. I think a lot of us feel like, oh, like it's warming up, like spring's starting. I need to get this, and that done. We may start feeling like that stirring of like, I need to get like myself going. It's like March. I need to see what's going on with my goals for this year. Please understand that astrologically, it is not yet time to really begin. Not until the sun moves into Aries later on this month. That's really when we start to feel the warmth, the sense of I'm ready to kind of begin. I'm ready to kind of do something different. March at the beginning for Pisces energy, it's mutable. It's more of like, what needs to change? What do I need to kind of be a little bit more pliable in and a little bit more receptive to what needs to shift? And I feel like it's very much about looking at like what we believe in, our ideals, looking at, where we are maybe a little bit more boundless than we perceive in a lot of ways. And so I think the full reversed here is kind of saying like maybe we need to kind of check back in with ourselves first before we start putting all of these expectations and goals and limits on like what we should be doing and how we should be doing it and what it should look like. So we may be feeling a little bit tired. We may be feeling a little bit battle worn in some ways because maybe we're like, well, I'm trying to get this new thing to start, but it's just not really taking off. So I think the full reverse is here as a reminder that not every time that we want something to start, that something is going to actually take off the way that we had intended. Some things kind of have their own energy and they're doing their own thing. So there may be some things that are maybe going to get a little postponed, or maybe there's just kind of a sense of like, we just kind of have to wait. We kind of have to let it be what it needs to be without our initial kind of like, I need it to be this and I need it to be that. And I think just due to society and how fast it moves now culturally, a lot of us are kind of used to this like instant gratification when it comes to things coming together and to things like being accessible to us at all times. And I feel like no other time in history has that been something that is the reality, but it is for a lot of us now, where if I'm like, tomorrow I need this, I have the opportunity to go and grab it and get it, whether it's locally or have it sent to me. And if I'm like, I need this information, I can just look it up and I can be educated on it. So I think with the full reversed, especially with what we need to know, is that maybe not everything is always going to be at our fingertips and not everything is going to feel like we're ready for it or we're trying to do that. So just be very aware of like, where do you feel like you're having to push, or where are you putting a lot of like your expectation in this, like, I have to do this and I have to do that kind of energy into this week, and maybe giving yourself a little bit more grace and kind of saying like, okay, why do I feel like I have to like push outside of maybe what is comfortable for me right now in order to see things kind of progress and move forward? Now, with what we need to do, we have the Knight of Pentacles reversed. Now, this is typically seen as a card that's very methodical, very like logical in the sense of really understanding what strategies they're putting into place before they kind of go after it. And the Knights are movement, right? So this is another reverse card. It's kind of saying like there may be a lack of movement as far as what we need to do. So maybe we need to kind of go back and look at our plan, look at our structure, look at, what behaviors are we kind of putting into place at this time that will be supportive of what it is that we're trying to do. So I think with the Knight of Pentacles, especially kind of backed by the full reverse, is that maybe we just don't really know what direction we're headed into and what that will look like. And so that also makes it challenging. If we don't know what the goalpost or where the goalpost is, it can make it very challenging for us to kind of devise how we're going to get there and how we will end up there, or what the best route to get there is. So I think with the Knight of Pentacles reverse, especially with what we need to know, what we need to do, is that we need to look at, are we planning ahead? Do we have what we need? Are we, really paying attention to all of the possibilities that may happen? Are we receptive to the opportunity that things may not always work out the way that we had anticipated? I know a lot of people are kind of feeling a little bit unmoored or like directionless, or it makes it very challenging to kind of figure out, like, well, I don't know what comes next. And I think I said this in like the last video I did for this kind of readings. It's like the chop wood, carry water kind of vibe. And I feel like the Knight of Pentacles is a little bit of that energy. While the Knights are typically, go after it, get into it. The Pentacles energy, with it being more physical, more about, the material world. I think that this is also a reminder of our physical behaviors. Like, what are we physically doing? How are we showing up for ourselves in this energy? Are we paying attention to ensuring that we have everything that we might possibly need kind of thought out before we execute it? And so I think that there is a little bit of this energy of like, hey, we have to kind of check back in with ourselves. We need to kind of tune into what it is that we're actually doing and what that will look like before we kind of move forward. Now, next to that, for what we need to release, we have the 10 of Wands reversed. I think a lot of us are feeling a little bit burnt out. A lot of us have a lot of stuff that we've been carrying, maybe overburdened, overextended, but maybe there is a fear of letting people know how we are feeling about this stuff. Nobody wants to hear you complain. And I know like that's like a big thing for a lot of us, is that we feel like I can't really complain about stuff. I can't really explain, that I'm disappointed or I'm this or I'm that, whatever. It's like we have this kind of whole lack of honesty in so many different ways, where we feel like we have to kind of show up and be like happy and, oh, I'm fine and this is good and this is whatever, instead of having these hard conversations with one another of like, hey, I have a lot of anxiety, I have a lot of fear, I don't know what I'm doing. And I think now with social media, we're starting to see a little bit more of like this door kind of opening up in some ways. But with what we need to release here is maybe the sense of feeling like we have to have it all together, or maybe even feeling like we have to kind of be responsible for everything that's going on, everything that's currently happening, energetically, politically, culturally, societally. It's so much. And again, it's like we are, being like set on fire basically in so many different ways. And then, life is just moving, right? Life continues on. The sun still sets, the sun still rises. And so a lot of us are kind of feeling, I think, a lot of this like burnout, but we don't really know. We don't really know what to do with it. And so I think with what we need to release is this sense of, I'm the only one that is carrying all of this. We need to maybe connect a little bit more to our communities and find connections that are supportive of these things that we're feeling. And so I think with the 10 of Wands here reversed, especially having all these reverse cards, is that maybe we need to take a step back and kind of look at like, who's supporting me, who really sees me for where I'm at. Where are those safe spaces for me? Where can I feel a little bit more seen, as far as like, really saying, hey, I have all of these things going on. I don't really know what direction these things are headed in. I don't really know what comes next. And that is perfectly okay. I know it can be so challenging when we're in the middle of our storms to feel like, we don't really want to burden others with the things that we have going on. And the 10 of Wands is very much a card of burdens. So we have to be aware of, we don't have to carry everything by ourselves. We're not meant to do life by ourselves. Finally, for what we need to contemplate, we have the 7 of Wands. Again, another Wands card. So this is momentum and movement. But the sevens have this like spiritual connotation to me, where it really talks about rising above the things that maybe feel like they're isolating us in some ways. So with what we need to contemplate is that maybe we need to kind of re-empower ourselves and reconnect to ourselves as individuals and kind of see what's going on with this energy. What am I doing with this? Like, where is this going to take me moving forward? I think for a lot of us, again, it's a very isolating kind of life that many of us lead, or it's very superficial, or we don't really feel a lot of that kind of interconnectedness that many of us are craving. Whether that's something that we receive through our social media connections, whether that's through our interpersonal relationships, whether that's like with the people that we're surrounding ourselves with, our families, our, relations, basically. And I think with the Seven of Wands here, especially with what we need to contemplate, is that we need to kind of say, okay, yeah, I can see all these things that are happening and I understand why they're happening, but I don't have to let it always be something that disrupts me and disrupts my peace, or kind of removes me from the sense of being more in power with myself. I need to lead from a space that makes sense for me and not feel distracted by the things that maybe I've been carrying that feel uncomfortable, or the things that maybe haven't really gone to plan the way that I had intended, or the things that maybe haven't really started the way that I had initiated them to be. So I think a lot of us are kind of in this like liminal space of trying to figure out what comes next. What are we going to do with this? While also trying to juggle all of the different things that we have going on in our personal lives and all of the responsibilities that are kind of associated with that life. Now, since we did have these two jumpers, I think that these are also going to be significant. We did just have this new moon in Pisces. We are going to have the eclipses beginning March 12th, I believe. It's been a while since I've looked at the calendar. I'll have to look at it again. But not this week, but the following week, I believe, is when things are really going to kick off. And so we're going to be seeing some shifts and changes coming, some openings, some different things for us to kind of connect on. Eclipses can bring a very unexpected and kind of like uncontrollable sort of energy in some ways. And while some people have a lot of fear about eclipses, I am just someone that like says it's just energy that we can't really manage. We can put it out there and we can try our best, but it's just going to kind of do its own thing for the betterment of whatever we're supposed to experience. And so we just have to be very receptive to that. So with the Ace of Cups reversed, again, it may feel like maybe some things are not really flowing the way that we want. There may be a little bit of a sense of lack of that connection, that feeling like our love is being reciprocated in the sense of, the things that maybe we're like, I'm trying to be open, I'm trying to kind of show up in this way and share with others and kind of see how I can be of supports in these different ways. And so it makes it a little bit challenging, because I think that this is almost saying like, hey, the world is here too. And we're kind of being given this opportunity to say like, we got to show up in this energy. We need to embrace what is coming, whether we feel comfortable with it or not. So that is the end of the readings. I think my microphone's about to die. So I just want to say thank you so much for joining me this week. Please take care, stay safe, and as always, make good choices. Bye.